Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel, and this is the Engineering Success Podcast, episode 17. Yes, lucky number 17. That is, if 17 is a lucky number. I guess I should have thought about that before saying that. I don't actually think 17 is a lucky number. Okay, let's look it up. In the spirit of looking things up, is 17 a lucky number? The number one hit was, is 17 a prime number? Yes, it is. This is the Engineering Success Podcast. I have a math minor. I know that. 17 represents Dharma, number 1 minus, and esoteric spiritual knowledge, number 7. Oh, number 1 is Dharma, and number 7 is esoteric spiritual knowledge. It is deemed auspicious and sacred. 17 is an auspicious number. And in Chinese, it's you're lucky if number 17 is your life path number, as it is a number that brings good fortune. So, hey, going into Thanksgiving, I'm bringing all of us some good fortune with this 17th episode of the podcast. Speaking of good fortune, I've had a pretty good time lately. I've been pretty busy, but I will say that I got to do some cool stuff recently. I got to fly on a jet, which is kind of cool. Some of y'all that follow me on Instagram at ENGRING Success would have seen the fact that I posted that I got to take a jet. I was going to an event, and it just so happened that people that actually have enough clout and experience to take a jet were going on the same trip that I was going on. So I got to join them. So I got to ride along. That was kind of cool. Very fun. We'll say it's pretty nice not to wait in the airport for super long. And other good vibes, I got my families mixing for Thanksgiving. My family, my parents, and my extended family are mixing with my fiance's family for Thanksgiving. So wish us luck. I think it'll be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, that's what's going on with me. Good times. Really busy. Getting a lot done at work. Getting a lot of opportunities for growth. As always, that's code for really busy. A lot of opportunities for growth, but I'm liking it. And last episode, we did a question on the Instagram and Spotify podcast platforms. Instagram, not the podcast platform, just Instagram, the social media. And I asked, what were good gifts for engineers? And we got a couple responses on the Instagram, so I wanted to read them out. Not Chase Wilson responded, antidepressants. That's pretty good, especially engineering students. I feel like they need them the most, but yeah, hard times, difficult times. Valentine Medine responded to my question with heated mug. You know what? I think that's a great idea. My coffee is constantly getting cold, and I feel kind of wasteful because I just go get new fresh coffee each time my coffee gets cold. So that's a great idea. And then Rin Medina responded, one of those space pens. Nice. I think that's cool. You know, what's that joke that the Russians, the Americans spent a bunch of money inventing a pen that could write in space, and the Russians used a pencil. I mean, if that pencil broke, it would become dangerous. So space pen is the way to go. But apparently you too can buy a space pen. So shout out to space pens. Other things, we got to do our weekly shout out. You know, if you donate one time to the Engineering Success Podcast, you can be featured with a shout out at the beginning of the podcast. If you donate monthly at the $5 a month rate, then you'll get shouted out at the first episode of every month. And if you donate $10 a month, so if we do $5 a month for the first episode of the month, and then $10 a month, you can be featured like sabeanandcheese.net, the #1 bean and cheese taco review platform. Shout out to the anonymous mastermind that has come up with the best way to review your local bean and cheese, your local Mexican Tex-Mex restaurant, by rating them by their 3 most important components: their bean, their cheese, and their tortilla. If they can't make one of those, then what are they? Check out sabeanandcheese.net, and that is how you'll be able to find your best breakfast Tex-Mex joint or lunch. Speaking of money, I figured I'd give y'all a state of affairs for the Engineering Success Podcast. We are up to $5.97. You heard it. We're almost at $6. Yeah, pretty hype. Again, we're not doing it for the money. We're doing it for the passion. But it is pretty cool to see that my ads on Anchor, thanks to those of you that listen through them, are generating a little bit of revenue. And then I don't know if you follow on YouTube, Engineering Success on YouTube, then you'll notice that I'm a little ahead of schedule. I'm starting to post episodes and segments from episodes on YouTube, and I'm going to try to have segments going up every single day. I know that's super crazy aggressive, and honestly, it's probably not maintainable, but right now I'm booked through Thanksgiving, which is pretty cool. I'm going to try to have one YouTube video. Sorry, my nose is itching. One YouTube video uploading every single day. That's going to be hype. And hopefully, we're at 7 or 8 views per video. But you never know. If we do a whole year of uploading every day and I keep on shouting it out appropriately, then maybe I can get some pull through from the Anchor podcast to the YouTube to the Instagram. I don't know. We're going to become a multimedia giant. What's that? What's that brand that they create in what's that Will Ferrell movie? Step Brothers group. Step Brothers multimedia. I will come up with an organization that will rival Prestige Worldwide. And I don't know. I mean, it's going to be multimedia, and it's going to be more prestigious than Prestige Worldwide. And I think my content is better than Boats and Hoes. So shout out to Engineering Success. All right. Well, you've heard me ramble for long enough. I hope that you are doing well this week. We're going to kick it to the ad break because that's what I do. And then we're going to start with our first segment, This Week in Should I Quit My Job? All right, everybody, we are back for This Week in Should I Quit My Job? Now, I had some questions on why this is a recurring segment on the podcast. And I'll be honest, it's kind of an homage to one of my favorite engineering podcasts out there called the Soft Skills Engineering Podcast. And they have a phrase in their podcast that they have the time-honored tradition of recommending that people quit their job. And I don't know, I just thought it was really fun. And I guess this is kind of my own take on it. I'm not admitting to openly stealing ideas from them, but yeah, This Week in Should I Quit My Job? Theirs is just like they do a couple questions and they give advice, and sometimes they tell people to quit their job. But here we're just starting with the premise of quitting the job, and then we have the question and the advice. So here we go. This Week in Should I Quit My Job? Question asker says, this is on our Ask Engineers, new hire is making $10,000 more than most engineers in same position. I just found out that a new hire with no experience makes $10,000 more than engineers with the same title and 2 to 3 years experience, and slightly less than others that have 5+ years of experience and additional responsibilities. There are 8 engineers in our department that is understaffed, and 2 of them put in their 2 weeks notice last week. Does anyone have any advice on how to approach management about this pay discrepancy? We don't want to throw the new guy under the bus since this is not his fault, and he seems like a pretty nice guy. I'm waiting on my PE results to find a new job, but I feel like I may have to retake it next year, so I might be in this position for a while longer. 3 to 4 of us are going to meet up to discuss what our next steps should be, but if anyone has similar experience, I would love to hear how you handled it and how it played out. So I don't have any similar experience, and I haven't handled it, but I do have a podcast where I can provide unsolicited advice. So here I go. So first of all, shout out to you for not wanting to throw the new guy under the bus. It is definitely not their fault. And I'd say that we're definitely in a pretty competitive labor market right now for employers looking for hires. So their higher salary is probably a reflection of how competitive the market is for hiring people, and it's also maybe even related to inflation. I'm not. I have a economics minor, but I'll be honest, I haven't been keeping up too closely with inflation. But you know what? I have Google. How much inflation in 2021? Wow, 6.2%, where 2020 had 1.4% and 2019 had 2.3%. Yeah, year to date, 6.2% inflation. That's according to usinflationcalculator.com, and I don't know what kind of bias usinflationcalculator.com might have. If somebody wants to back check that for me, I'd appreciate it. But just for a swag here, yeah, there's a lot of inflation. So that might all, I mean, that's not, maybe not $10,000 worth, but the fact that they're making more than other engineers in the same position is definitely a big deal. And this is why a lot of employers don't want their employees to talk about their salaries, but this is even more the reason to have respectful conversations with your coworkers about your salaries. I mean, the reality is that there's, on the business side, there's different reasons why different people make more, and it might be a degree that they have, or a program, or hiring at the time. But it sounds like the fact that they're making more means that the other people have been on a on a raise freeze, or they haven't been getting additional compensation that keeps them in line with what market is. And I think that it's really cool that the 3 or 4 of you are meeting up to discuss what your next steps would be. So I think the reality is that your current employer needs to compensate you more. And the reality is it might be very difficult for them to do that, but it's probably also going to be even more difficult for them to replace all that experience, considering the fact that they paid a new hire $10,000 more. So it sounds like your employer has gotten themselves into a little bit of a pickle, and your department's understaffed. And I don't know what the situation is for your company budget wise, but yeah, those guys with more experience should be getting raises. The only issue is I don't know how big of a company this is. And if it's a really big company, then it, again, hiring could have been done out of a different budget into your department, and they're pulling from a different budget to fill it. So maybe it might not even be your manager's fault, or the director, whoever set your salary's fault. The budget might have come from elsewhere. So think about that. Somebody else might have set that new hire's pay. But the reality is yeah, y'all are definitely underpaid. So, and you had people put in their 2 weeks notice. So I think, having just a candid conversation with management and saying, hey, regardless of what the policy is, I don't think there's a policy against talking about wages, but just be like, hey, so we know what new guys making. We got guys here that are contributing, and hey, shout out. I mean, great for new guy. That's definitely obviously market. And we also believe we should be compensated the market rate for our experience. So we expect, what's the timeline on us getting promotions, and how far in the past was it? It needs to happen fast. And that's the unfortunate thing. If it's a really big company and they don't have much flex, it might take them a while. It might take a little bit longer to make it happen. There might be approvals, but if you emphasize it with enough, there's always exceptions to the rules. So, but yeah, I think that definitely talking about it with your manager, and not coming at it from a perspective of not liking them, because you don't know the context. You really do not know the context on how that person got that salary, but just saying, hey, that seems like it's market now, so we need to be at least compensated that, and probably more because we have more experience. As for how it'll go, here's the deal, man. The other thing is if you want market, then you might have to consider jumping ship and going somewhere else. I I don't usually advocate that kind of thing, but there is some truth to what a lot of people get. A lot, especially in the software industry, people say that the best way to get pay advances is to bounce around from place to place, and it really, yeah, it depends on what kind of angle you're playing and what kind of changes you're willing to make, and what kind of things that you're willing to, what your priorities are. But you might also start looking for other jobs as well. This is not gonna be a full on quit on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being definitely quit your job and 1 being don't quit your job at all. I put this at like a 2 to 4. 2 if you just want 2 because you're gonna go and ask the question first, and then we're approaching that crazy 4 territory. If your manager just completely ignores you and treats you worse because you had this ask and gets mad at you for having the conversation, because they shouldn't. I mean, that's the risk that's their risk, and if they're getting upset because they got found out for this discrepancy. So that's 6 minutes, 7 minutes of me rambling to say, just have the conversation with your teammates and come in with a positive mentality. Don't come in completely indignant. Just come in just wanting to learn and just recognizing that your manager is put in the position that they're in, and there might be things that you don't know. They might be limited to a certain budget, and they had to negotiate with this person to get them in, but also be ready to negotiate with them, and if it really is going to hurt you, that if they can't do it, then they can't give you a raise, then be prepared to start looking elsewhere. And then maybe then you'll have a little more leverage. But yeah, I wish you the best of luck. It doesn't sound like you were upset with your pay beforehand, but now you know. So you have every reason to want more. So best of luck. Next one. People who hire or manage new mechanical engineers. What skills are most lacking in new or recent grads? If this is going to offend you to read, please don't. I'm looking for candid answers, regardless of what they are. If you hire new grads or supervise them, what skills do you find most lacking? I would prefer concrete answers, like they can't use Excel versus rants. They are so lazy. But I'll take either one. Literally be as specific as you want, even if it's just to the job you do or supervise. Like one piece of software that no one else uses, if that's really the answer. Bonus internet points if you tell me what a new grad in an interview could say that would make you think they're avoiding this problem if you hire them. I am about to be a new grad and want to get into your heads. I'm reading every comment, keep them coming, the more perspectives the better. Okay, this one was really cool, and this is one of those ones where I'll react, but I'm actually going to go and read off the response because I think they're really helpful. So here we go. Where is it? There it is. Okay, let me scroll through here and see if I can find any good ones. Here's one. Most employers will understand that you aren't going to know relevant technical skills. Entry-level positions are to learn those skills. It's easy enough to teach someone the most relevant job skills. What they often struggle with is soft skills, ability to clearly and concisely communicate technical info. True. Yes, definitely work on your soft skills and your ability to communicate things and also understand things. When things are told to you, I don't subscribe to the, if you tell them once, then you can't ask about it. If you ask once, don't ask again. I don't subscribe to that. But what I do subscribe to is respecting other people's time. So whenever somebody teaches you how to do something and you've learned it, or somebody's answered that one question for you, write it down. Build a Bible for yourself of things that you learned on the job. That way you don't have to keep on asking the same question over and over again. It'll help make you more respectful of other people's time. Other things are intellectual humility to first try things out, then asking questions, and using resources when you hit a wall. Again, yes, we got an engineering degree. We learn how to solve problems. So use that. Don't just always jump to asking questions over and over again. at least explore it and try, so that way whenever you go to your manager and you say, hey, how do I do this? You're not saying, how did I do this? But, hey, I looked into this resource. I've done this thing and I couldn't get it. Especially if the manager has pointed you towards a resource to go to first before coming to them with questions, try it. That's why you got the engineering degree, to solve problems. So don't just constantly pepper them with basic level questions that you didn't do any level of effort to try to solve them. How to work effectively on a team? Yes. Find your place in the team and try to find your way to contribute. Don't railroad conversations, don't railroad meetings, but also whenever you need to know, and when you're in a position where, hey, if you don't ask this question to the team or you don't clarify or make this point, then you're setting the team back. There's a balance there. Time management and understanding priorities. Another good one, something that a lot of engineers, it's just the nature of being a college student, is a lot of us procrastinate a lot. So the work environment, when you're working in this 8 to 5, or whatever work hours you're in, learning how to really be effective during those hours so that you're not grinding in the evening, it's a thing that new engineers sometimes struggle with. And then they go on to say, when we interview, we focus more on behavioral questions that help us tease out those traits. E.g., tell us about a time you encountered a technical problem you couldn't solve. How did you approach it? Yeah, that's great. And then somebody commented, want to stand out above the crowd? Be a problem solver first and a problem second. Exactly. Solve problems. Don't be the person that's constantly bringing problems and questions. But doesn't mean you just can't ask questions. It's a little bit of a line there. Here's another one. We added a writing test to our interview process just to assess technical communication. We give them a couple bullet points of information and ask them to write a paragraph. We aren't looking for a masterful writing, just trying to see if there's enough there to work with. Yeah. Practice your ability to write effective emails. And new grads come in and kind of watch the email chains go back and forth. One thing that I didn't even know is, like, if you put somebody in the to box, then they're supposed to respond. And if you put somebody in the carbon copy, then they're not expected to respond. Did not realize that email etiquette whenever I first started working. So learn your email etiquette. Also, generally a faux pas to use BCC, blind carbon copy. Learn that as well. Here's another one. Let's see if there's another one. Yeah, report writing skills, especially the ability to be precise, ability to extend knowledge or extrapolate. Like if you send somebody somewhere to, they go on to say, like, if I told somebody to go inspect a site and give them a checklist, but when they got there something was on fire, they wouldn't write it down because it wasn't on the checklist. They might not notice the fire at all. Holy S, use your head. Don't just rely on rote learning. Exactly. Use your engineering skills to be able to understand that, hey, there might be other things I want to look for. That's a good one. Experience turning a wrench. Went back to school after 20 years after a software engineer, aghast at how many people in my mechanics and materials class didn't know basic tools. Disgusted at how few in my circuits lab could be taught to solder competently. That's an interesting one. What else? A couple more. One thing I tend to see is people jumping to solve a problem with a new idea, new design, or advanced engineering concepts without first taking the time to examine the simple solutions and see if the problem can be solved at a lower level, so to speak. For some people, it can be really hard to get them out of this. Yeah, and I think that engineering design programs kind of condition us to look for, like, the optimal prime solution and think, like, super big, but yeah, in the industry, sometimes it's a little bit more straightforward than that. So, good one. Also, lacking the ability to break down a very open-ended problem with no clear solution. It's a very different thought process than most coursework. Yeah, because in a lot of our coursework, we're trying to demonstrate our ability to emphasize this one principle, because we're learning about different principles and then we get tested about it. And then it's not until our final exams where it gets super open-ended in our design programs where we get super open-ended. So look at more opportunities to practice design. When you ask them to call somebody, they email instead, so a 5-minute item takes 2 days to resolve. Yeah, so practice your ability to call people on the phone. That's a good one. And one more. One more. Let's see if we can get one more good one. I hire and manage mechanical engineers coming out of school. Honestly, self-confidence and time management. We have a lot on our plate as a firm, and we have to be smart with our time use and keep things going. It's easy to come out of school with the mindset of let me take as much time as I need to get it right, but we can't do that in the engineering world and make a profit. No profit means we go under as a business and everyone goes unemployed. Self-confidence is another. Give your best effort, and that's all that can be asked of you. Don't feel like you have to be perfect or superhuman and then get down on yourself that you're not. And that's something that I had to work on, and I still have to work on. When I make a mistake, don't just get super down. Learn how to make a mistake and just how to take it in stride and keep on moving and inspire confidence whenever you're working. It's makes you much more pleasant to be working with on a team, is the feedback that I've gotten personally. So yeah, inspire confidence. All right, so those are the responses. People who hire and manage new mechanical engineers. What skills are most lacking in recent grads? I think that applies to all disciplines of engineering. So I hope that y'all found those helpful. And again, as always, the links will be in the description if you want to see all the responses. I thought it was a really good one. All right, let's go to high school questions. This one is on Ask Engineers, how do I pick the right engineering field for me? Hey y'all, I'm a dual enrollment high school student and I'm working to get an AS, Associated Science degree. What's an AS? I should know that. What is an AS degree? Associate of Science. Yes, nailed it. By my graduation, currently in my junior year. Oh, you have another year. I've been dead set on engineering since like the 5th grade. Join the club. Though I now have to figure out what side of it I'd want to do. I was originally set on electrical engineering, but then I had a talk with my dad, who said not to get too zeroed in on one side of it, just to find out it isn't for me. So he told me to look more into it, and now I can't decide. Honestly, pretty good advice. I am currently torn between electrical and chemical, but I don't know. I want to do an engineering program tour of a school with a lot of options to help me figure it out, but it would be a matter of whether we can take a trip to one of the next states over or not. I just want to figure it out before I decide whether I want to prioritize some classes over others. So I'm guessing you have some high school engineering courses that you're trying to take. Well, here's the deal about a lot of state school or any school engineering programs is you start out as an engineer. I don't know of any that where you start out as a specific discipline. You start out as an engineering a person that's going to pursue one of the engineering majors. And then usually after your freshman year or your sophomore year, around that time is when you then declare your major. And that's whenever you would choose mechanical, electrical, industrial. And in some programs, you have more autonomy with that choice. In other programs, it's a little bit more competitive, and you might have limited options on which you do get to choose. But what I would say is, especially whenever you're taking these classes in high school, take ones from both. And I wouldn't be so focused in high school right now at trying to figure it out, because I think that the way that you figure it out is that you take the classes. For example, whenever I was a freshman in college, I took a physics class. I took the lab because I had already gotten the credit for the physics class. So the physics was split into the physics, like the physical, the mechanical, and then it was split into the electrical. And I very quickly learned that I was much more apt to the mechanical. And I'd say a lot of people like the mechanics physics better than the electricity and magnetism physics, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they go mechanical or electrical. But then I took my first statics class and my first circuits class the first semester of my sophomore year. And that's whenever I realized, okay, I'm a little bit more drawn towards the mechanical side of things. So again, you're going to have some time. And after that, then I chose to pursue mechanical. And that's what I did. And so I wouldn't be too worried about it right now. I'd really be more worried about just continuing to grow that passion for engineering and solving problems and just really setting yourself up for success in your engineering pursuits. And then I think that once you get to college and you're on the right track, you want to go to visit college campuses. I think that you'll get to see some of that in your college campuses, and you can ask current students and professors and you can have those conversations. But once you get on campus and you're starting to take college engineering courses, I think that answer is going to become more apparent for you. So I wouldn't be too stressed out about it now, but then again, it doesn't hurt to continue exploring and doing projects related to mechanical or electrical. Don't count out chemical/process, civil, a lot of different ways to go. Industrial, I've kind of given my piece on industrial in the past, but I think it's also a good option. So yeah, I wish you the best of luck, but I wouldn't get too worried about it. Enjoy high school. Enjoy continuing to take entry level, high school level engineering classes, and then when you get to college, once you start taking physics, and then both of the physicses, and then the mechanics and the circuits, at that point, you'll be able to kind of decide. Some schools also have like an intro to the engineering majors class where you can kind of do exploratory things in each of the major disciplines of engineering, and then you can figure it out. But yeah, a good question to ask as well whenever you're touring schools is how they help people figure out what kind of engineering is for them. So again, I've already wished you best of luck, but I'll do it again. Best of luck. Next one. This one is on our engineering students. Is captioned "Not enough." Uh-oh. Not enough. They say, I am a high school senior that will be studying mechanical engineering next year. I am hardworking. I put in more work than all my brightest friends, but I am afraid that mechanical engineering will be too tough. I am afraid because I feel I am not the most creative or the best critical thinker. I am talented in math and physics to an extent, but compared to others, I am not good enough. For example, to understand a concept, I need an example. I cannot solve without seeing how it is solved first. What can I do to be more prepared? All right. So it sounds like this person's a little bit down on themselves right now. And I want to say, as somebody that graduated with a mechanical engineering degree, I too could not understand concepts without seeing examples. And the great thing is that good professors do examples in class, and then they assign you example problems for homework, and then they give you resources, or you have resources in the form of textbooks and classmates and sometimes even former exams that you get to use to practice more examples to even further solidify your understanding of the concepts before you're tested on them. And then when you graduate, you go into the industry, then you take that foundation that you have and you learn how to solve even more problems through similar examples and the mentorship of other people in front of you. So no, I don't think that just because you need examples to understand a concept that you are not suited for engineering. I think you are definitely suited for engineering. And I think that your learning mentality of wanting to see examples and practice examples is actually going to set you up very well for studying for engineering exams and being an engineering student. And here's the great thing. You do not need to know how to do it now. And you don't need to know how to do it all now. Engineering programs are generally standardized, at least here in the US, and they are all designed to get progressively more difficult, and they layer on more and more concepts. So each year you're learning more new concepts through examples, and then you're learning how to apply them in different ways, and next thing you know, you're layering them on top of one another, and layering them on top of one another, and next thing you know, you've graduated, and you have this wonderful fundamental understanding of how to solve problems, how to take the knowledge that you have from the examples that you've gleaned, the examples that have been taught to you or you've seen, and how to take that knowledge, your problem-solving skills, and your understanding of fundamentals of engineering, and how to provide solutions as an engineer in the world. So I say all this to say that you are enough. You have a bright future ahead of you, and it's not the quote-unquote brightest engineers that always get the best grades. And it's not the hardest working engineers that get the best grades either. But it's the engineers that take the right mentality and the right approach, which is doing practice problems and being dedicated and continuing to persevere. Those are the ones that are successful in engineering school. And again, you don't have to have the highest GPA to get a job. I know plenty of people with GPAs all over the map doing all different types of roles. So again, mechanical engineering will be tough. It will be difficult, but you're very hardworking. You said you have a good aptitude for the fundamentals, which math and physics, and you have a good foundation, and you like to learn by seeing examples and practicing examples. And you might not have all the study habits now, but if you work hard and you surround yourself with the right people and you go to office hours and you take the advice of your professors and your peers that are ahead of you, and you really pull all that together, then you're more than capable of graduating from your engineering program. So I wish you the best of luck. I think you're going to be wonderful, and I look forward to an update 4 years from now after you've finished, or 5 years from now, or whatever timeline that you take after you've finished and you've been so grateful that you stuck it through. So wish you the best of luck. You are enough. Next one. Is it worth it? Oh my goodness, guys. We are feeling down right now. I think it's the winter. Is it worth it? My dream degree is aerospace engineering. Is it worth possibly graduating a semester or a year behind to get it? In the big picture of life, 1 year doesn't seem like much, but do you guys think it's worth delaying a career by possibly 1 year to get a dream degree? Yes, emphatically yes, it is more than worth it. And here's some ways that you can even better make it worth it. 1, don't take as heavy as a load. It'll allow you to have a less stressful time. Your grades will be better. And you can use that time to work a part-time internship during the year and start working earlier and get better experience. Additionally, in the extra summer, for that extra year, you can get an additional aerospace engineering internship. This extra work experience, this extra internship, it will set you up for better career opportunities when you graduate. More internship experience means more lucrative opportunities for entry-level jobs once you've graduated. So yes, it is 100% worth it. 1 year is not much in the grand scheme of things, and there are ways that you can take advantage of that extra year to set yourself up for success. I have a peer of mine that graduated from my engineering program, and he started the same year as me, and then very early on he realized that he needed a little bit more time to really understand the principles. So he made a plan to graduate in 5 years. So he took a lighter load and he focused really hard, because that's how he learns. He has to learn things really in depth, and he really wants to understand the concept very well. And the result is that he did he wanted to go get a PhD, so he did summer research opportunities at Caltech, I believe Stanford, and then now he's getting his PhD at, where is he going? Let's see. I'm not going to say his name just because I haven't consulted him about it, but let's see. He is a graduate student at USC. He's at USC getting his PhD, and he did summer research at our university. He did it during the year. Yeah, he did undergraduate research at Stanford. He did undergraduate research at MIT, and he did undergraduate research at Caltech and at Oakland University. Okay, so he took that longer year and he turned it into this crazy, crazy experience. I mean, how amazing is that? So yeah, it is not in any way a big deal to graduate a year late. And companies, whenever they're looking to hire you, they're just making sure that your graduation date is in line with whenever they want to hire you. They don't really care about how long it took you to get there, because everybody has their own story. So it is worth it. It is worth it. It is worth it. So here we go. Next one. Why is the dropout rate so high? Again, we're going really down in the dumps with these questions. All right, here we go. Why is the dropout rate so high? Many people go into engineering, but once they get to sophomore or junior year, they drop out for another major. Is it true that engineering requires a lot of commitment? I watched some videos on YouTube about thermodynamics, and that looks so hard. Well, okay, I'm guessing this is a high school kid. So yeah, especially if you don't have any of the fundamentals to understand thermo. Yeah, thermo is hard. Because there's a lot of prerequisites that you have to take before to kind of get the general principles behind thermo. The dropout rate is very high because it does require a lot of commitment. Here are some reasons why the dropout rate is so high. First of all, the material. The material is challenging. There are a lot of very difficult concepts that need to be understood and grasped in order to make it through an engineering program. The next one is the rigor. An engineering program has a lot of required coursework. If you look at the number of credit hours required for different majors, engineering is generally the highest one. So that means you're taking if you want to graduate in 4 years, then you're taking a pretty full load all the way throughout college. Additionally, that credit hour load is kind of underinflated. And the reason why is because engineering majors have a lot of lab courses. And traditionally, the way that lab courses work is the way that credit hours work is if it's a 3 credit hour class, you spend 3 hours in class, and then the golden rule is you spend 3 times that many hours outside of class studying for it. Then you have lab classes that you get 1 credit hour for, so it only looks like 1 on your transcript, but actually that lab is 3 hours long, and you're spending, the whole 9 hours outside of class working on it. So look at that credit hour disparity and then increase it. It is just a rigorous program. I mean, one semester I was taking 15 credit hours, but 3 of those 15 credit hours were all 1 credit hour labs. So it was like the equivalent of 21 hours. It was crazy. It was insane. And somebody with that same load added an additional 3 credit hour class on top of it. And I was like, what are you doing? It was like taking 24 credit hours. It was insane. And so again, it's rigorous. There's a lot of classes in there. And the other one is that some programs are a lot more learning, and then you just take like multiple choice, or you write essays and you do stuff like that over the material you learned, and you just kind of regurgitate the material that you learned. But engineering, the way it works is you learn the material, you learn the foundations, and then you have to apply it in completely different ways than you've seen it applied before. And other majors do this as well, but that's one thing that makes engineering very difficult, is it's not only the learning of the material, but also the learning about how to problem solve on top of that. And then I don't say this all the way to scare you at all. But yeah, the 2 points of engineering are learning the fundamental understanding and then also learning how to problem solve. Those are the 2 purposes of an engineering degree. And then why else is the dropout rate for engineering so high? Yeah, it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. It's difficult material. You have to really study. You have to really study hard to learn how to apply things and really fully understand things to do well on exams. I mean, all of that, and it's a lot. So yeah, that's why the engineering dropout rates so high. The other one is that it's not for everybody. It just simply isn't for everybody. But a lot of people want to see if it's for them because they're told that it's a lucrative career and engineering degrees are great, and they are. So that's the other reason why the dropout rate is so high, is because a lot of people that don't know if it's suited for them start out in engineering to see if it's suited for them. And that is okay. There is nothing wrong with dropping out of an engineering program and realizing it's not for you, because there are plenty of other ways to have a successful career, a satisfying life, and a rewarding life than just getting an engineering degree and working as an engineer. But I will say it's been a nice start for me. So that's why the dropout rate is so high. And yes, it does require a lot of commitment, but don't psych yourself out by watching videos about thermodynamics. That's like sophomore year, junior year stuff. Don't start that in high school. But yeah, keep your head up. Don't worry about it right now. Just kind of take it one thing at a time, and I wish you the best of luck. All right, next question. Interesting. The question is, dramatic pause while I unscrew my water bottle. This is on our career guidance. Not receiving an offer until declining another company's offer. Question asker has a long question, so bear with me. I'm in a bit of a conundrum. I also am in a bit of a conundrum. I can't read. No, I can. All right, I'm in a bit of a conundrum. I received a job offer from an engineering company, A, with a slightly above average salary. Unfortunately, I have other concerns with the company regarding work environment and long hours, but I was happy to receive the offer and get an idea of what companies believed I was worth. The same day I received the offer, I had an in-person interview with another company, B, and I preferred their work environment over A's. At this point, I already know I would choose B over A if their salaries are similar. Here's the kicker. I received a call from B the next day, and they said they would love to give me an offer, but they had been speaking to their friends at A. Apparently, the two companies work together often and the people are good friends. They didn't want to poach each other's potential talent or have to outbid each other, so because A extended an offer first, B won't extend their offer until I decline A's offer. B acknowledged this wasn't ideal for me. No, duh. Since they knew I would prefer to have all the offers on the table, although I was very disappointed, I told B that I respected their decision. I asked someone working at B for a few months in a very similar position I was applying for, and they said their salary was a little above A's offer. Although I'm not guaranteed that salary, I'm relatively confident that I can reach that level of pay not too long after I join, if I'm not offered it in the first place. When I told my friends about the situation, they all seemed to believe this was scummy, and they were suspicious of B's potential offer if I declined A. Now I'm doubtful of the morality of the situation, and if B might be scummy, which is saddening since I was really interested in them. This came out longer than I thought. Hasn't anyone been in a similar situation or heard of anything similar? Even if not, what are your thoughts? Okay. Again, have I been in a similar situation? No. Have I heard of anything similar? Not until now. But I do have a podcast where I give unsolicited advice. So here we go. Here are my thoughts. Yeah, it's kind of scummy. Why do companies do this stuff? Okay, first of all, why are they talking about you? That's kind of sus that they're talking about you. And I would imagine that the hiring processes at these companies are supposed to be private. So I would kind of call B out on it and say, hey, like, why'd you do that? When did I consent for you to share the details of my interview process with you along this process? Like, I didn't mention other company to you. Why'd you reach out to them? And I get that you said that you respected their decision, but honestly, I personally don't as much. I mean, I get where they're coming from. They want to take away your leverage. Ooh, this is rough. Yeah, I would say I would come back to B and be like, I'm really saddened to hear that you went and talked to A about my potential employment with you. I didn't realize that was public information. And I don't like the way that this process has gone down, and it's made me. I really enjoyed the culture at B, but it's made me significantly doubt. I wouldn't say it that hard, but that's where my heart goes. I would say, hey, you know what? I need to know your offer. I would like to work for you, but I'm not going to turn down another offer without hearing from you. And are they really going to hold firm on that? They might. Ugh, that's difficult. You know, I'm not in your situation because I have a job and you're trying to get a job. Maybe you already have a job, but If you already know that A is not going to be a company that you want to work for, then I would just decline their offer and then go to B and say, hey, all right. Or tell B that you decline. I mean, maybe it's unethical to. But honestly, they're being unethical too. Like, what the heck? No. Just because they're being unethical doesn't mean you have the excuse to be unethical. But man, if B is a better place to work and you already know that you'd prefer to work there, then I would decline A and just roll with B. And keep that salary in your back pocket and expect that B offers you more. And then hopefully it works out well. I just don't like the companies that operate this way. Dang. And I just wish you could give them a piece of your mind, but I don't know if you're in a position to do that. But the reality is if you decline at A because you don't want to work at A and you'd prefer to work at B, and then B comes and tries to screw you over, then maybe that's not the kind of company you'd want to work for. And also, maybe that's HR trying to pull a fast one. And maybe, I don't know if you've interviewed with the hiring manager at B, but if that's the reason why you like B, then maybe just saying, hey, just so you know, this is what your recruiter is trying to pull on me. Do you have any other contact with the hiring manager that's different than hopefully they're different than the recruiter, just to let them know, give them some feedback on what their HR department is doing to you. Wouldn't be a bad idea, because then they might just say, hey, screw that. I would not want to be in your situation as an employee looking for a job. Here's what we're going to offer you. So yeah, try to reach out to the hiring manager directly and be like, hey. And gosh, that's just, and also if you worked with a recruiter, like a independent recruiter to help you get these 2 interviews lined up, give them that feedback as well. Cause this is just scummy. This is wrong. That they're colluding like that. Can companies collude for job offers? Yeah, so in the US, there is antitrust guidance for human resource professionals. They're not supposed to collude. If you're in the US, the FTC, according to 2016, again, not a lawyer, not giving legal advice, but I just Googled this. The federal government jointly enforce U.S. antitrust laws which apply to competition among firms to hire employees. An agreement among competing employers to limit or fix the terms of employment for potential hires may violate the antitrust laws if the agreement constrains individual firm decision-making with regard to wages, salaries, or benefits, terms of employment, or even job opportunities. You qualify. HR professionals are often in the best position to ensure their company's hiring practices comply with antitrust laws. Yeah, this would, if you're in the US, this would violate antitrust laws, I'm pretty sure. So I'm going to send you this link on Reddit right now. Because that's crazy. Yeah, I was like, that's not right. Anyways, so I'm going to send that to you while I go on to the next question. But yeah, if they're in the US, screw them. Like, that's not cool. I'll respond to you later, but ooh, I'm excited to send this to you. That's crazy. But yeah, wish you the best of luck. Sorry that companies are doing this to you, but maybe if they're in the US, hit them with this little link and say, hey, you should really tell me because this is not right. And then, yeah, let them know. But I think that it's illegal. That's not right. It's definitely not ethical. So wish you the best of luck. All right. Next one. I feel useless in my group. Again, not a lawyer. All right, next question. Again, our engineering students, I feel useless in my group. I've been paired with 3 gigabrains, with me just being an average, somewhat above average student. I actually feel useless. I want to help and keep asking them what I can do to help, but they're basically already done everything. What I do end up doing, most of it gets altered, upgraded during the quality check. We've got a 95% average in the design class so far, well beyond trumping every other group's grade. I feel like very little of that is attributed to me. I'm by no means being lazy, not trying, BSing, etc., but they're just better, and I feel like I'm the useless kid where otherwise I'm usually the one carrying my previous groups. I don't want to be the useless one. Okay, here's my advice to you. revel in it, enjoy it. I mean, I get it. I was in a similar situation. I did a senior design project, and I was the mechanical guy of like way too many mechanical guys, and I stepped out of my comfort zone and tried to help out with electrical because we just didn't have enough electricals. And I got paired with the top of my class in engineering, and he's a phenomenal person, phenomenal partner, and he kind of carried me. And my main I had some contributions. I'm not about to go on a public platform and say that my senior design contributions were useless, because they were not. But I will say that, he was a great asset to the team, and he definitely took a lot of lead in our area. And I just tried to find as many ways to contribute as I could, and realized that, hey, I can learn a lot from seeing the way that this person that's obviously better at this thing than me is contributing. And I kind of tried to contribute to the project in other ways by giving my time, going and doing field things and stuff like that. And so, yeah, just keep on trying to contribute, and you might feel a little useless, but enjoy the fact that you're getting a good grade and getting a little bit of a breather, and keep on, just remember you're there to learn, and try to get learning out of that, and seeing the giga brains, as you call them, go to work. But yeah, I wouldn't beat yourself up too much about it. I'd maybe just appreciate the fact that you're not having to pull a full carry, because I know I didn't really experience that much in college, but I have seen people go through that, and it's not fun. So yeah, just kind of enjoy not being in as crazy of a situation this year, or this time around. All right. 2 more questions. Does charging a client for the labor hours associated with designing a product mean that I forfeit the ability to make and sell that product to other people, i.e., original client owns that design because they paid for the engineering? My company designed a product to fix a specific problem at the request of a client. I like to charge the client for the time we spent designing it and provide them the prints and CAD model so they can have it made. By doing this, does my company forfeit our right to make and or sell the design to anyone else? Does it automatically become the client's intellectual property if they pay for the design effort and prints? All right, I first responded to this and said, just depends on the contract, but person updated the question and made it more difficult. Edit. In this instance, there were no written contracts, NDAs, or patents. The initial request from the client was verbal. It's Florida, which I'm guessing complicates matters because of Florida. I'll definitely get a lawyer opinion, but I just wanted to probe the community in case there was an obvious aspect I was missing. Thanks, everyone. So it sounds like if there's no patents and there's no NDAs and there's no contracts, then yeah, sounds like you designed it and you have every license to do whatever you want with it. But I would definitely lawyer up first and talk to a lawyer, an intellectual property lawyer maybe, or maybe, I don't know, business law, somebody that knows that kind of thing really well in Florida, and talk to them and get their advice, because I am not a lawyer, as I've said earlier. But yeah, generally with these types of things, it just kind of emphasizes the importance of getting things in writing or establishing things in a contract beforehand. I know that handshake agreements can just get messy, because even if you're doing something that's legally right, then it might not feel morally right, and bad press is just bad. I remember an instance, there was an engineering firm that was tied to my university. They got contracted to support a startup of students at my university, and based on the terms of the contract, the engineering company felt like they owned the design, and they might have owned the design according to the terms of the contract, but the university paper kind of got a hold of the story and wrote a bunch of bad things about the engineering company, and then there was a big, huge lawsuit. And I don't even know what the result of the lawsuit has been, but just knowing that, because there's no legal terms defined, I mean, the person, you can sue anybody for anything. So know that you might be opening yourself up to a lawsuit. So it emphasizes the importance of documenting things, because you open yourself up to bad press, to a lawsuit, and then once it goes to a lawsuit, if you don't have any legal grounds established or anything, then it's kind of, I don't know the legal system, but I would just be afraid of the chance that it wouldn't go my way. So talk to a lawyer, kind of get things on the up and up as much as you can. But I'm leaning on saying that, yeah, it's yours. But yeah, anyways, really cool that you got to design a little solution for somebody and it's marketable and mass producible. I would say in the future, maybe spell out that you own your design in the contract, but lesson learned. All right, last one. I am being offered a promotion to senior engineer without a salary increase. Should I take it? Interesting. TLDR, being offered an internal promotion to senior engineer without a salary increase since my startup does not have the money to give me one. Should I take it? They put the TLDR at the front, which is kind of cool, but I've never seen a TLDR at the front before. Here's the rest of the question. I'm a junior engineer at a startup and have been here about 3 years. This week, my boss and I had discussions about my career roadmap, and he explained his great satisfaction with my work, good for you, and that he is going to submit a request to his higher-ups to approve for me to move into a senior role and lead a new R&D program. However, being the nature of a startup, we seemingly never have any money, and he indicated there probably won't be a salary increase with the title change due to the state of things, and that the salary approval is outside of his control. He did tell me if he had the authority, he would increase for whatever that's worth, but I am torn. On one hand, yes, obviously the idea of being a senior is very appealing and a big step for a career milestone. On the other hand, I don't want to be doing senior engineer work for junior engineer money, as pretentious as it may sound. Frankly, we should be more comfortable talking about money. People like money. It's human nature. Everyone wants to be paid more. Amen to that one, brother or sister. Or, yeah. I don't know how to say this to him delicately in a way that benefits both of us. I don't want to ruin an opportunity to take advantage of a career milestone, but I also don't want a title change to put on my resume. I'm trying to be confident in knowing my worth. Seeking advice. Thank you. So, first things first. I think with startup companies, the name of your role is maybe not as important in bigger companies where different names of roles might take you into different pay scales and pay grades. Smaller companies, I knew one small startup company where everybody that worked for the company just got to make up their own role and they could just call themselves whatever they wanted to call themselves. And I'm not saying that's your case here, but again, I wouldn't get too tied up into the role. But here's some things here's my takeaway. The first takeaway is that your manager indicated that salary approval is outside of his control, but if he had the authority, he would increase for whatever that's worth. So, if I were in your position, I would say yes. I really would be interested in this opportunity to grow and get more responsibility and contribute more to the team. And I just ask that you advocate for me to be compensated accordingly to that. And compensated accordingly to that. So in one instance, that could be money, a raise, and he can ask you for a raise. But the other thing that startups have that they're more willing to give away than other companies is equity. So you might ask, well, if I'm going to move to a senior, is there any way that I can get some equity? I don't know if you already have equity or if your manager has equity, but if that's something that can be given with raises, or maybe a bonus structure. Again, startups are a lot more flexible, so maybe you can advocate. You can advocate for some sort of bonus structure for you. Additionally, I don't know what your benefits are like, but maybe an increase on your match on your 401k, or just look at other ways to increase your total compensation that maybe you can ask for that are not just a raise, but definitely ask for them to at least advocate for you to take a raise. But coming back to the original question, yeah, if I were in your shoes, I would take it. I'm not one to turn down an opportunity to grow in my career. You've been in there about 3 years. I don't know if your career has been 3 years, but senior in 3 years apparently in software, or 3 years, not just software, but in any engineering, that's pretty quick to get to senior in general. So I don't know if other companies would look at you as senior if you left your current company. But that being said, I think that I would take it and just advocate for yourself, continue to be an advocate for yourself, and tell them that you expect to be compensated accordingly, and that you and just kind of have that candid conversation, because you have this, sounds like you have a good relationship with your higher up, your boss, and that they want to advocate for you. So just continue to express your appreciation for their recognition of your work. Let them know that you have been working hard, and you're doing your best, and you're trying to grow, and you'd be interested in taking the new opportunity, and that you would expect to be compensated more, and you understand it's outside of his control, but you really need him to advocate for you, and then see what happens. I wouldn't get too bummed if you don't get a massive promotion, but even a startup with minimal money should be able to have some kind of increase for an increased role. But again, I don't know your situation, but yeah, take it and be positive about it and be excited. So yeah, wish you the best of luck with hopefully getting a raise. Please post an update. And there we go. You have officially wasted a perfectly good hour listening to another episode of the Engineering Success Podcast. We're responding to Reddit questions mainly right now, but if you have your own career question, you can write into engring.success, engineeringsuccess@gmail.com. ENGR, just like it would show up in your course logbook, ing.success@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram at engring.success or engringsuccess. You'll find it either way. And follow me on Twitter. Follow me wherever you want to follow me. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on your podcast listening platform. Subscribe to me on YouTube to listen to short form excerpts of the podcast. Share the podcast with anybody you think that would benefit from the podcast. And as always, you stay classy. Well, that's a new sign off. But anyways, I appreciate you all, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.
I cannot explain in lameness. Never losing focus because I ain't chasing payments. Still playing in the basement while I'm working on arrangements. They heard the kid in 50 countries. Thank God that's amazing. But I'd rather thank Spotify. They put me on the station.